This legendary MMA fighter has entered an underground tournament to free this woman from a mafia boss. But he is about to face the largest, most heavily guarded prisoner in the world in a one-on-one fight. In Kiev, Ukraine, a legendary martial artist named Yuri Boyka is fighting in an underground arena, cheered on by his manager Kiril and the entire crowd. Elsewhere, a fight is arranged in a maximum security prison, and a giant monster of a man named Koshmar arrives in the ring. Koshmar's opponent, who is only half his size, is visibly nervous. The fight begins, and Koshmar's opponent lands a few punches, which have next to no effect on the giant. Koshmar knocks his opponent to the ground, and with just a few punches to the head, kills him. Next, Boyka arrives at the church to make a donation, which he seems to do often. A priest tells him that his donations are appreciated, but if he's seeking salvation, then he must leave his profession, because it will not be found in violence. Boyka tries to argue that there are rules governing his fights, so it's not senseless violence, but the priest says that violence in any form has a way of consuming men. Boyka says that the way he sees it, God has given him a gift, and it would be a sin for him to waste it. Next, as Boyka is training, Kiril arrives and tells him that he has managed to get him an opportunity to fight in a real legal European tournament, as opposed to the underground fights they've been doing lately. He says some scouts will watch his next underground fight, and if he impresses them, he gets to fight in the real tournament. Boyka is pleased, because his only goal in life is to become the most complete martial artist. On the day of the fight, Kiril tells Boyka that his opponent tonight, Victor, fights with hunger just like he does, so he should be careful. Boyka replies that nothing will stand between him and that tournament. With a ferocious focus, Boyka arrives in the ring, and the fight begins. Victor takes the fight to Boyka first, and Boyka retaliates with equal strength. After a few minutes of fighting where both contenders prove equal, Boyka gets the upper hand with a vicious knee to Victor's face. After this, Victor is disoriented, but he refuses to give up. Boyka knocks him out with another lethal combination and advises him to stay down, but Victor struggles to his feet and continues the fight in his weakened state. Frustrated, Boyka hits him with a combo that ends with a hook straight to his face, knocking him out permanently and ending the fight. After the fight, the scouts meet Boyka and tell him that they want him to fight in the European tournament. He is pleased. As he is heading out of the arena, he sees the medics taking an unconscious Victor into an ambulance and learns that he is in a critical state. He gets worried. One jaw-shattering punch too late for that, bro. Boyka has trouble sleeping all night, and the next day he goes to Kiril and asks what became of Victor. Kiril reveals that Victor died in the hospital, and Boyka is devastated. He asks where Vitkor was from, and if he had any family. Kiril says that he was from Drovny, Russia, but that's all he knows. He reveals that he does have Victor's bag, and Boyka demands to see it. In the bag, he finds a letter from Victor's wife, Alma. Boyka asks Kiril to make a fake passport for him so that he can go to Russia and meet Victor's wife. Kiril reminds him that he is a wanted man in Russia, hence the fake passport genius. Kiril strongly advises Boyka not to do this. He says that Victor was just another fighter, it's no big deal, and legally Boyka is not liable for his death. Boyka insists, and Kiril reminds him of the upcoming European tournament, which he has worked his whole life for. If he does this, it could ruin his life. Boyka says that it's not this life he's worried about right now. In Drovny, Russia, a crime boss named Zurab arrives at Victor's funeral and reminds his wife Alma that the family owes him a considerable debt. Alma is appalled that he is choosing this occasion to bring it up, but says that she can work for him to pay off the debt. Next, Boyka gets his fake passport from Kiril, who tries to convince him against this plan one last time, but to no avail. After a brief tense moment at the border, Boyka manages to enter the country and arrives at the address from which Alma sent the letter to Victor. It is a local community center. Boyka sees Alma with her daughter, and just then, a suspicious-looking vehicle arrives to pick her up. Alma notices Boyka staring at her as she gets in the car. Boyka follows her and arrives at an underground fighting club which is run by Zurab, who watches over it through CCTV cameras. Boyka spots Alma working at the club as a seductive waitress and tries to talk to her, but he is interrupted by security guards of the club. They take him outside and tell him that Alma belongs to the boss, and no one gets to talk to her without his permission. When Boyka insists that he just needs a few minutes with Alma, the security guards try to beat him up. However, he makes short work of beating them all up. Zurab arrives on the scene, and he is impressed with Boyka's skills. He offers Boyka the opportunity to fight in his club, but Boyka says that that is not what he is here for. Zurab says that whatever he wants to say to Alma, he can say to Zurab, and he will pass along the message. Boyka insists on meeting her himself. Frustrated, Zurab tells him that he owns Alma, and he owns this city, so if he ever sees Boyka near Alma, he will kill him. The next day, Boyka arrives to meet Alma at the community center. He just tells her that he knew Victor. That's probably Russian for, "I murdered him with my own hands." He then offers his condolences and asks if Zurab is bothering her. She says that Zurab gave her and Victor a loan to start this community center, and now she is just paying it off. She asks Boyka if he saw Victor's last fight, and after hesitating for a moment, Boyka finally reveals that he was Victor's opponent, and he is the one who killed him. He adds that it was an accident. He asks if there is something he can do for her, and enraged, she asks him to bring Victor back from the dead. Boyka is ashamed. He offers his winnings from his fight with Victor to her, but she says that she won't take his blood money and tells him to get lost. At the club, Zurab expresses frustration over the fact that his manager Slava is bringing him garbage fighters, none of whom live up to his champion Igor. He says that his club is supposed to provide top-tier entertainment, and none of these fighters are about that. Just then, Boyka arrives and offers Zurab a deal. He says that he will fight 3 fights for Zurab, but in return, he must wipe Alma's debt. Zurab accepts, but says that for the deal to apply, Boyka must win all 3 fights and defeat his champion Igor. Boyka says that all 3 fights must happen within this week, and Zurab laughs, thinking Boyka is suicidal. Boyka replies that he's just in a hurry. Before Boyka leaves, Zurab reveals that he knows Boyka's real identity. He knows that Boyka is a wanted man and a legendary martial artist. He assures Boyka that he owns the police in this city, so he doesn't need to worry, but reminds him that when he fights in his club, he must fight under his rules. Next, Boyka calls Kiril and tells him that he'll be staying in Russia for a week. Kiril is outraged and reminds Boyka that his European tournament fight is in 2 weeks. Boyka assures him that he will be there. Afterward, Alma arrives to meet Boyka. She says that she did not ask him to save her, and Boyka replies that he is not trying to save her. He's trying to save himself. Boyka goes to train in the local gym, but the local fighters do not welcome him warmly, leading him to knock one of them out. At night, Boyka arrives at the club for his first fight against a fighter named Boris. Both Alma and Zurab watch intently as the fight gets underway. Boyka easily defeats Boris, but as he is about to deliver the final blow, he remembers what he did to Victor, and realizing that Alma is watching, he holds himself back. After the fight, Alma brings Boyka a drink, and he asks her if there is some place he can train, because he is not welcome at the local gym. She offers him to train in the gym at the community center. As Boyka trains there, all the children watch him. Boyka asks Alma if his training there bothers him, but she says that she's fine. However, after he leaves, she solemnly looks at a picture of Victor. The next night, Boyka returns for his second fight at the club. As he enters the ring, he learns that he will be fighting against the Azarov brothers in a 2-against-1 contest. Boyka is shocked, but Zurab reminds him that this is his arena, and Boyka will fight under his rules. The 2-against-1 odds prove to be too much for Boyka, and he ends up injuring his lower back while taking a beating. However, he sees Alma watching his fight intently and remembers what he is fighting for. He gives it his all, and in a valiant offensive, manages to achieve a double knockout, defeating his 2 opponents. Seeing this, Zurab tells Igor that he better be prepared. Next, Zurab bribes a warden from a maximum security prison and tells him to bring Koshmar to his club. The warden says that taking Koshmar out is a huge risk, but Zurab tells him that he won't just be paying the warden in money. The warden will also have the honor of arresting Yuri Boyka. Next, Alma brews a special ointment for Boyka's back and helps him apply it. She tells him that he does not have to fight for her. He can leave anytime he wants. Boyka asks her why she doesn't leave this city. She tells him that this community center was her and Victor's dream. The children here rely on her and know that she will never abandon them. If she leaves, they will all be left at the mercy of the streets and turn into gangsters and criminals. Zurab learns that Boyka is spending time at Alma's community center and arrives to see her. He thinks that Alma and Boyka are having some kind of physical relationship and reminds Alma that Boyka killed her husband. She says that it was an accident, and Zurab laughs at her naivety. Zurab tries to force himself on her, and she becomes enraged and tells him to leave. Before leaving, Zurab tells her that if he sees Boyka at the center again, he will kill him. Meanwhile, Kiril calls Boyka and tells him that all the preparations for his tournament fight are done, and he must catch the bus back to Kiev tonight. Next, Alma arrives at Boyka's hotel room and demands to know if Victor's death was really an accident. Boyka says that they shouldn't talk about this because he does not want to hurt her, but she says that she can handle it. Boyka tells her that he has been through hell on his quest to become the most complete martial artist in the world, and he has long since believed that his fighting skills are a gift from God. During the fight with Victor, he did not see a man, a husband, a brother, or any of that. He just saw someone standing between him and his dream. He reassures her that he never meant to kill Victor and regrets it deeply, but Alma is distraught and leaves without saying anything. At night, Boyka arrives for his final fight against Igor. The fight begins and Igor proves to be a much more equal match than any of Boyka's previous fights. Igor gains the upper hand by continuously targeting Boyka's back injury, and it looks like Boyka is going to lose, but he sees that Alma is afraid of what will happen if he loses, and pulls out the last ounce of his strength to knock Igor out. Alma is overjoyed at his victory, and Boyka starts to make his way back to the locker room because he has a bus to catch. Zurab arrives in the locker room and asks where Boyka is going, and Boyka replies that their deal is done. Alma is free. Zurab reminds him that the deal was to fight 3 fights and defeat his champion. Boyka has fought 3 fights, now he has to defeat the champion. Boyka says he just did it, but Zurab says that Igor is not his champion. His champion is on his way. Boyka is outraged and says that he will no longer fight for Zurab, but Zurab says that if he doesn't do that, he will not free Alma. Zurab might even sell her to the next bidder. Boyka is enraged and agrees to fight the champion. Boyka arrives in the ring, and the champion is revealed to be Koshmar. Boyka is shocked witnessing the size of the beast, but begins the fight nonetheless. Boyka throws several punches and kicks at Koshmar, but he barely even flinches. On the other hand, Koshmar throws a knee straight at Boyka's head, knocking him out. Boyka is disoriented, but he gets to his feet thinking about Alma and all that he owes her. He starts applying a defensive strategy where he avoids Koshmar's strikes and slowly wears him down. Finally, he manages to put the monster in a hold where he breaks his arm and then proceeds to knock him out with a drop kick. Seeing that he has lost, Zurab orders his men to beat Boyka up, while he leaves with Alma in his grasp. Boyka fights the men off, getting shot in the process. He takes the gun of one of the guards and chases Zurab outside, but Zurab holds Alma at gunpoint, forcing Boyka to drop his. Alma bites Zurab's hand, giving Boyka a chance to rush him, and Boyka tackles Zurab to the ground and then chokes him to death. Alma rushes to check on a wounded Boyka and tells him that they can still get out of here before the police arrive, but Boyka says that he needs to know whether Alma can forgive him or not. Before Alma can answer, the police arrive and take Boyka away. 6 months later, Boyka is in a Russian prison, and Alma arrives to meet him. She thanks him for helping her regain her dignity and freedom. She admits that at first, she was very angry at Boyka, but then he made her believe that there are still good people in the world. Finally, she tells him that she forgives him, and Boyka is relieved beyond measure. He thanks her, and the guard takes him away. Next, Boyka arrives for a fight in the prison tournament and continues his journey of becoming the most complete martial artist in the world. The end. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like our channel and subscribe if you enjoy content like this. Also, let us know what movie you would love us to recap for you.